Alderneys Key FM.
And hopefully on the other end of the line is our President, William Tate. Good morning, William.
Good morning, Dougal, and good morning to everybody out there.
How are you?
How am I? Well, as Jenny Rowley might say, irritatingly positive.
Irritatingly positive.
That's just how I am. I always try and see the best in everything, and, that's what gets me through.
Yes.
I'm really, really good. And, we go for a walk every morning early, and what I realised this morning as I was walking round is that, Mother Nature isn't on lockdown, and, it really makes you feel good to see that, things are starting to grow and flowers are starting to appear and blossoms starting to appear. And, it just makes me think that, even in these dark times, we can still take inspiration from Mother Nature. And I think, the ability to be able to get out and just get some fresh air is really, really important.
Hear, hear.
Okay, so that's my little sermonette for this morning.
Okay.
So you want me to crack on?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so let me start, as usual, with the latest data. There are now 166 confirmed cases in Guernsey. The number of recovered people is 34, and that's the number of people who had previously tested positive and have no detectable virus on day 14 of the illness. There are still no positive tests in Alderney. The big news yesterday was, of course, the announcement that the current restrictions that we have come to know as lockdown will continue for another 2 weeks. I don't think this is unexpected. Indeed, the current level of positive cases in Guernsey demonstrates very clearly that this is necessary. Now, there are some changes which have been made to the lockdown guidance, which address some of the issues we have raised. So businesses which sell non-essential goods and were told to stop work can now resume if they are able to take orders on the phone or online and if they can deliver the goods. They cannot open their premises for the public to shop in person. This is a welcome change which will just help people to purchase some of the other things that make our day-to-day life bearable. So what I'm going to do now is to read extracts from the guidance that was published yesterday for those people who don't have access to the internet. So please forgive me, those people who've already read this. The Bailiwick's public health objective has not changed: to minimise contacts between households as far as possible so that we can reduce the rate of transmission of the virus and the number of COVID-19 cases, ensuring that our healthcare system is not overwhelmed. The core instruction to our community has not changed: stay at home. You should not leave your home except to exercise, to buy necessary food and supplies, for medical appointments, or to work, where that work is essential. In order to support the stay-at-home strategy, home deliveries of goods will now be permitted as long as A, ordering is online over the telephone, and B, delivery complies with strict rules set out below. On the 7th of April 2020, the States of Guernsey extended the period of lockdown for a further 2 weeks. The Committee for Health and Social Care has approved a further direction which will remain in force until the 23rd at midnight on the 18th of April 2020. The public health advice is that the stay-at-home objective can continue to be supported by revising the guidance to enable a greater range of home deliveries to individuals and families. Such a specific revision will also support mental health and well-being in the community through enabling access to goods which will help maintain quality of life during this challenging period. It will also assist a number of businesses in the bailiwick during this challenging period. From the 8th of April 2020, businesses will be able to deliver goods to families and individuals in the bailiwick. This is in addition to food and drink deliveries, which continue to be permitted. Please note, however, the takeaway deliveries are still not permitted. The following rules apply to the delivery of goods. The goods can only be sold or bought online and or over the telephone. Other than essential retail outlets, shops are not to open to in-person callers, and only one or two people may work on the premises to take and fulfill orders. Social distancing and hygiene guidelines must be in place. Businesses may use couriers to deliver items. Couriers are designated as essential service providers. If a business has its own delivery facility, this may be used as long as it follows the delivery rules set out below. Goods must be packed for delivery by no more than two people in line with social distancing and hygiene guidelines, including the wearing of gloves. The deliveries must take place as part of a planned itinerary, and goods must not be sold by delivery drivers to other parties. The deliveries must be undertaken by no more than one individual wearing gloves. A 70% alcohol hand gel should be rubbed on the gloves between deliveries, and the goods must be left on the doorstep of premises or in an agreed outside place. There must be no direct customer interaction. The decision to allow non-essential retail businesses to carry out home deliveries is first and foremost to assist the community in staying at home by giving them access to the wider range of goods and equipment, supporting mental health and well-being, and facilitating home working, and particular consideration has been given to the challenges for households in the light of the lockdown being extended. It is felt that businesses are intentionally disregarding the spirit of this guidance, it will be reviewed further. So, provided we all play by the rules, then that is a very, very welcome extension to enable us to just get a little bit more back to normal life. So the Civil Contingencies Authority has also indicated that work is actively taking place to develop an exit strategy so that we can at some stage move towards recovery. Make no mistake, we still have a long way to go, but we have to keep thinking ahead. Work is already underway in Alderney to look at the way we can ensure that economic recovery can get underway as soon as possible. Because this, of course, isn't just about health. This is also about the impact on our economy. And whilst we are focusing on the health issues, we are also looking at what might the future look like and what might we be able to put in place which makes that transition already something that we can be along that road. So I think that's important that work's being done. There are still other issues that we think there might be appropriate changes in Alderney. Let me stress that we do not advocate any of these changes if we didn't consider they were minor changes which did not compromise the need to ensure that we are meeting the requirements of social distancing. This is not about trying to break free from lockdown. It is about making lockdown work effectively in the particular circumstances we were in. Now, I know that there are some who feel that this might be taken as a view that we are seeking to undermine the strategy of the bailiwick. That could not be further from the truth. Of course, we are supporting and trusting in that strategy. And as I have said now for almost 3 weeks, it is extremely important that we follow the professional advice. But that is not to say that we don't have a role in seeking on occasions to challenge that advice. And there is a world of difference between undermining and challenging. And that was advice that was given to me by a very experienced military strategist, that it is always important to challenge, to make sure that arrangements that are in place work for the people in respect of whom they are imposed. So all we are saying, and I talked about this at some length the other day, is that because we are very different to Guernsey, because they have 60,000 plus residents and we only have 2, if you're making a policy which is essentially for the whole of the bailiwick, then it goes without saying that there will be small things which will apply to one part of the bailiwick which won't necessarily apply to another. So all we've been doing is highlighting these small areas where we say, yes, of course we support the strategy. However, it could work better for us if it was just tweaked here and there. Now, Dr. Brink said yesterday in the press conference, and it was confirmed by Deputy Soulsby and by Deputy St. Pierre, that there are differences in terms of our demographics, because, of course, we have a lot of senior residents on the island, and that's a fair point. But it also has other implications, which we would suggest would demand a slightly different approach. So please do not think for one moment, anybody who is listening to this, that we are not completely committed to the strategy that the professionals in Guernsey are working tirelessly to develop. And as Gavin St. Pierre said yesterday, and he said it before, we won't make all the right decisions all the time, because these decisions are being made in real time. And rather than having 3 or 4 weeks to work through a strategy, it's having to be done in 3 or 4 days, if they're that lucky. So all we're simply saying is we're trying to help you through this, and what we're simply saying is that let us have a little bit more relaxation around minor things. It works better for us and it works better for you in the long term. So I hope that puts people's minds at rest. And we will continue to support, but we will continue to challenge with a very small c, as and when we think we can make that system work better. So we've raised the issue, and this is a very good example of restarting takeaway services for delivery where restaurants are able to do so safely. And although this hasn't changed in the guidance for the bailiwick, we have secured a commitment that the Committee for Health and Social Care will consider exempting those restaurants which wish to reopen for delivered takeaway food. So we have asked restaurants to provide us with the necessary information so we can seek these exemptions on their behalf. And I hope that that will swiftly be able to get some of these businesses operating again. And the advantage of that to us is that by our more senior residents not having access to that facility, then they will have to rely on Meals on Wheels. That creates additional stress on the system there, and we are already at just about the limit of what can be delivered with existing resources. So that, I think, is perhaps the best example of how circumstances in Guernsey differ so greatly from here. So if we are successful, then we give people access to restaurant food delivered at home, and we also relieve the stress on our Meals on Wheels and care services. So we are engaging with the restaurants, we'll help them do that, and fingers crossed that will be somewhere, a way in which we can just take the pressure off a little bit. Now, we've also raised the issue of lone workers, people who can work on their own without mixing with other people. This would include people who do gardening. We've been told that this is now under review, and the CCA is considering whether it will be possible to change certain categories of workers to resume work. We will inform you if anything changes. So again, this is an issue where we have been putting our case based upon the circumstances here and based upon the fact that we have to maintain a balance which takes into account that people who could work should be able to work so they can provide for their families. So again, that's another area where we think we can highlight perhaps a slight deviation from that policy. But hopefully, as a general bailiwick-wide policy, reading between the lines yesterday, it may be that there will be some movement on that. Now, something which gave me a huge amount of pleasure yesterday was that we were able to clarify the rules in relation to the period of exercise that people can use every day. Now, please remember, this is still a maximum of 2 hours a day. It is clear that whilst unnecessary travel is advised against, it is quite all right to travel a short distance by car to undertake exercise. So driving to your favourite place to start a walk, a run, or a walk with your dog is fine. Just make sure you observe the need to keep your social distance. And please do not park as close as you normally might to other cars. If the car park you want to use is busy, move on to somewhere else. Just be sensible, as the vast majority of you have been, and we can make this work. So again, another example where the circumstances here entitle us to say that we can deal with the question of exercise in a slightly different way, but it gives everybody the opportunity to take advantage of what we have on offer here. So I think that's really important, and I think, again, that will just make people feel that perhaps normal life is not that far away. But just bear in mind, if there is evidence that we are not playing by these particular guidance rules, then steps will be taken to stop it. So really now it's up to us. So let everybody do their exercise in whatever form, certainly within the prescribed categories, and we can make sure that we take full advantage. So if you're, and this has been one which has been troubling, if your particular form of preferred exercise is to do a bit of fishing from the shore, then carry on. As long as you don't exceed the 2 hours and gather as a group of people, that is okay. Now, again, it's one of those small things, but fishing is so important to so many of our islanders. And I know that they are responsible. I know that they are respectful. You can tell that from the way that they treat the fish. So it's really, again, uplifting that people who go out in all weathers and stand on the shore are able to follow their passion, which is also their form of exercise, because that is as good a form of meditation as anything else. So that's fantastic. And also, we've been told by the President for the Committee of Health and Social Care that a spot of ormering is fine if that's what you want to do. So in summary, there has been a bit of sensible fine-tuning. None of it undermines or detracts from the central message, stay at home. And when you aren't at home, keep your social distance. And there's a bit of fine-tuning to come, which we'll keep you informed about. But I think what is really important in all of this is it gives us, and it encourages us to think that we can get back to some sort of normality. And I think that's really important as a community. So I would say to all of those who have been involved in putting this case, for James Dent, who is one voice of a number in the CCA, he put our case cogently, comprehensively, and I think we all owe him and everybody else a debt of thanks. So this is an example of showing the community how this system works and how we've arranged it in a way that recognises what we need to do, but also gives us the professional advice to allow us to do it. So I think that really is a thing which we should be very proud of. Now, I've just got a few little things here to mention. I've been asked if I would give a shout-out for our postman, and I think that's entirely right. Not necessarily on the front line, but nevertheless, they are coming into contact every day with post that arrives on the island. They are delivering it in the normal way, but they are making sure that the social distancing rules are applied, and therefore we can be confident that when our post is delivered, it has been handled in exactly the right way. So a big thank you to all of them. Next thing is, because people are spending more time at home, and now's a time that people might start cutting back in the garden, more and more people are having garden fires. Now, could I just ask people to think whether, in the present circumstances, that's the most sensible course? I say that because the fire brigade were called out the other day to an incident which could have been potentially serious, and therefore they had to respond on that basis. But when they got there, they found that in fact it was simply a fire. And so the point is that they had to put on all their protective equipment. Social distancing is difficult. So that was really, for them, an unnecessary trip. So all I think I'm saying is, at the moment, perhaps given the weather, this is not the best time to have fires. And I myself, I have to be honest, had considered it, but having spoken to Molgodian this morning, I'm certainly going to put mine on hold for the foreseeable future. Next thing, VE Day celebrations, which might not in the context of everything seem that significant, but we had in place a really good way to celebrate VE Day, which would have been a street party at the Island Hall. Barbara Benfield was arranging it with my office, and it was all looking really positive, and of course it now looks as if that might not happen. But as always, Barbara has come up with a fantastic idea, and I'm not going to share it with you now, but I have to say hats off to her, and if it works, then that will, even in this period of restriction, give us all a really important opportunity to support and recognise all the sacrifices that were made by those who were involved in the war, and how we can celebrate the ending of the war in Europe. So again, another positive. I want to give you as many positives as I can this morning. Finally, yesterday I did ask if anybody who was offering support for well-being, which was not necessarily confined to physical exercise, because what we want to do is to put in the next newsletter a list of all those resources so that people can access them, and if they don't go out to walk, they might want to do a period of mindfulness meditation or some simple relaxation exercises at home. So just again, another example of how this radio broadcast has really worked in the community. Lisa Milan contacted us yesterday, and she's the coordinator for the Alderney Wellbeing Centre. And I'm just going to read you quickly what she told us. Alderney Mind is here, and this is addressed to the community. Alderney Mind is here for you at this very difficult time. Our Alderney Mind Wellbeing Centre may not be open, but we are and can still offer support and information in relation to the services that are available to us here in Alderney. You can contact us via telephone or email, or alternatively take a look at the Guernsey Mind website, where you can get information and contact numbers for services that we can also access. Please remember that if you need to seek help urgently, or you know someone who might, then please contact your local GP or the police. And she finishes by saying this: it is okay not to feel okay, and you are not alone. So please reach out if you need us. So, once again, another example of community support and people doing everything they can to make sure that our mental health stays as robust as our physical health. So thanks to Lisa for that. And I think I would certainly recommend any of these services to people. It might not be something you've ever done before. You might think it's only for a certain type of people, but trust me, as somebody who's been actively involved in all of this for more years than I care to remember, the benefits are huge. It takes very little effort, but the rewards far outweigh any sort of prejudice that you might have. So please, take advantage of those. Take advantage of the exercise videos that are there. Stay healthy, and by staying healthy, it helps you to stay safe, because we know that this disease suppresses the immune system. So anything you can do to strengthen your immune system has to be a good thing. So I think today, Dougal, it's been 90% positive, and that's how I like it.
And we'll take that, William. 90% is really a good amount, and with everything that's going on, there were a great deal of positives there from what you've spoken this morning, so we thank you very much for that, and hopefully we're going to have even more positives tomorrow.
Well, I wake up every morning, and that's my mantra for the day.
Okay then. So, William Tate, our president, thank you very much, and we'll speak to you around the same time again tomorrow.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Stay safe, everybody.
And you stay safe as well. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Alderneys Key FM.